Welcome to WiseTake.com. This is CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And yes, we are bringing you another NBA DFS podcast. It's Friday, March 17th, 2017. We've got a solid slate of games, and we have a lot of value to look forward to just based off some of the information that we heard on the previous slate. Now, it's funny because we're at the point in time now, that point in the season where I think if you're an average player, a casual player, you probably can't wait for baseball season to come, or at least just be done with NBA. Just because we're at that point now where teams that are out of it are going to start shutting down some of their stars. We've seen Bledsoe has been shut out. We'll talk about that later. And guys are just going to, maybe a little injury that wouldn't be a big deal in the middle of the season. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to be super cautious because if their team's going to the playoffs, then they got that guy. We're at that point now where nothing is really secure. The numbers that we've grown accustomed to are not necessarily secure. Guys that maybe used to get mega minutes aren't going to do it. And you could still play. You could still have fun. You could still win. But it's going to take a lot more commitment. It's going to take a lot more research. DraftKings has tried specifically to get better with the pricing to make it so it's not so easy for everybody. And because ultimately, when you have free plays like that, while you may think it benefits the average user, really it also benefits the pro because that's just you just plug them in and 150 lineups or whatever it is, and there you go. So I think it's beneficial for both. I personally like when I have these situations because it gives you somebody to plug in there, especially in cash games. You kind of just know, okay, I'm plugging this guy in, and then, it's one man short in your roster, and then from there you really go head to head with somebody. So I think it's okay. And we got a lot of interesting things to talk about today. Now, we don't necessarily know. We got situations that we haven't really been in this season, so we don't necessarily know what things are going to look like. You're going to want to do your research. I haven't done any actual research. I'm just pretty much, as I always do on the podcast, I do it the night before. So I kind of just, as Steve said last week, it's our first take based off the research that we've done over the last couple weeks. What makes sense, what pops out. And, as the slate progresses tomorrow before lock, I'll dig deeper and deeper. So you can follow me on Twitter for any updates. If you have any questions, you could reach out and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. But yeah, so today, the previous slate didn't do me so well. I mean, currently it's 10:39 on the East Coast on Thursday night. So the Golden State and the Magic game is about to tip off. I got 3 players from that game in one of my cash lineups. I really screwed up, man. I usually only do one cash lineup. I did the cash lineup. Somehow, my biggest cash entry, which was the single entry $25 double up on DraftKings, somehow I didn't manage to transfer that lineup over, so I played my dummy lineup. It wasn't all that bad, I guess, but I got Vooch in both lineups either way, so we'll see how that goes. Right now, it's not looking too good. I can tell you that the night in general is not looking too good. I played a lot of spades. I played Barden. So the guys that were high on. Carmelo let me down a bunch. I played a lot of Carmelo, and he just didn't come through. I think Gordon Hayward was somebody who I had in one of them, and I intentionally moved him out. There was a reason I didn't want him anymore. I decided that on a back end of a back-to-back, there was just not enough upside for me. I kind of had a feeling it was a trap. It made me like Carmelo even more, which is why I locked Carmelo in so many lineups, and it turned out he was either pay it for LeBron or get a dud. And most of my lineups, I put LeBron in some GPP lineups, but not in cash. And I try not to pay for guys that are too expensive unless there's like some minimum salary guys like plug away. Like on Monday, we had good like Lamb and those guys. But yeah, it wasn't the case. So we'll see. There's still time. Maybe I can win some of these head-to-heads. Maybe I can come back placing some of these 50-50s because the cash games today was that was really what I was focused on. I did do some GPPs, but the cash games was really what I had most of my money in, obviously. As it should be if you are a cash game player. And so we'll see how that goes. I'm rooting right now for Draymond. I'm rooting for Vooch, Iguodala. I got a bunch of Golden State Magic guys. So the whole slate's been watching everybody pass ahead of me because I played so many guys from the late night Hammer game, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we're gonna get started talking about the slate here. Got some injuries to go over as usual. Pretty standard for a night. Now, we're going to have to pay attention. We have some interesting news here. We got a couple guys that were shut down. We got some guys who have injuries, some guys who are just resting. So, we got a lot to get through. So, Wesley Matthews is questionable with a calf at Philadelphia. Dwayne Wade is now out for the rest of the regular season with a fractured elbow. Chicago was playing Washington today. Cameron Payne is also questionable. Not also. He's questionable with a foot at Washington. John Wall's questionable with a foot against Chicago. And from what I read earlier on Twitter that it was about a 50-50, as of now, the night before, it was a 50-50 shot that he would play. So we're going to want to pay close attention to that, because if he doesn't play, I think Brandon Jennings becomes a go, assuming he starts. Guys like Bradley Beal would take over. And point guards against Chicago is a phenomenal matchup, especially lately. So we're not going to want to miss that. So you're going to want to pay attention. I think it also could affect Rondo as a play, too, on the other side. But we'll talk about all those guys. Isaiah Thomas is expected to be out for at least 2 games with a knee. They're playing Brooklyn tomorrow. Sean Kilpatrick is still questionable with his hamstring. He did not play against the Knicks. And they'll test it out against Boston. Joe Harris obviously out indefinitely with a concussion. Nene is out with rest against the New Orleans Pelicans. It's surprising. He's one of their better defenders at the rim, and you got Boogie and Anthony Davis. So I thought that was a little funny. But hey, oh man, I can never say this guy's name. Belicia. Yeah, you know, I just did the podcast about this guy, I think it was last week, about how watch him, he's doing well. He had a couple really awesome games, and now he's out for the rest of the season. So there goes that. Apparently he hurt his ankle. He's done for the season. Lance Stevenson is questionable with an undisclosed injury at Miami. Willie Reed is probable against Minnesota. Brandon Knight is done for the season. They're shutting him down. Eric Bledsoe, done for the season. They're shutting him down. Looks like Ulis is going to get some run, as well as Booker. Derrick Jones is probable against Orlando. Barbosa is questionable with an illness against Orlando. Mike Beasley is out against the Lakers, and Nick Young is probable with a finger against the Lakers. So we have some very interesting things to go over. That was just the injuries. So we're gonna dive in position by position to talk about some of these things, and obviously we're gonna end up talking about what these injuries mean. But we'll just go position by position. So James Harden's on the slate. He's 11-8. I think he just burned the world last time against the Lakers. Well, he got 57. That's not bad. At one point, I thought he had in the 40s. 57 is not all that bad. However, he did it in 31 minutes because his team won by 39 points, so he didn't get the full run. So that just goes to show you the upside of Harden. Had he played a full amount of minutes, not even a full 40, but say he played like 35, he probably would have came close to 70, if not break 70. So Harden's obviously a great play. He's always going to be a great play. I would imagine they're going to put Holiday on him. They've been really weak against the guard positions lately, New Orleans. So Harden's certainly a phenomenal play at 11-8. Price is down. He was 12-6 against the Lakers. He's 11-8 now. Last time he was 11-8, it was against Cleveland, and he put up 75.5 DraftKings points. So Harden's certainly a good play. You could play him at point guard or shooting guard on DraftKings. Giannis, small forward eligible still. He's 9-9. He's got a great matchup with the Lakers. And I like playing Giannis against teams that don't have good rim protection. For instance, I liked playing him against Philly. I played him big against New York when he had 71.75. So basically, I'm targeting guys that can't protect the rim. And you can see a big difference when you have, like, for instance, when he played Memphis with Gasol down low, 31.75 DraftKings points. He played against the Clippers with DeAndre Jordan, 30.75 DraftKings points. So this is a situation where I think he could really take off. What you have to be concerned about, however, is, and I haven't looked at any of the spreads yet of the games, but what you have to be concerned about is the Lakers are so bad right now, and they're tanking so hard that they very well could get blown out by Milwaukee. Not to mention, Milwaukee hasn't looked so bad. They just beat the Clippers. So either way, at 9-9, I think it's a great price for the matchup for Giannis. John Wall's 9-5. If John Wall does play, this might be a situation where I might have to play him, at least in tournaments. He's 9-5, so his price is under that 10 mark again. Again, the only thing you have to... GPP is only just because even if he does play, he's obviously somewhat injured, if he's questionable, I think. And even if he plays, they could choose not to give him a full run if they don't think it's necessary. We're at a point now, there's not that many games left, so I think a lot of teams kind of see where they're at. The teams you want to target are the guys that are fighting for the playoffs, guys that are fighting for position, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think Washington really applies. I mean, it's a playoff matchup, Washington and Chicago, but I think Chicago's in it as of now. I'm not positive. So if Wall plays, I definitely love Wall against Rondo and any other point guard they might throw out, especially without Wade. Definitely love John Wall. IT2 we know is out. Elf 7,800. He's going to be on the back end of a back-to-back. We'll see how he does tonight. Right now, I just read the game literally just started, and I just saw Steph Curry's headed to the locker room. So we'll see what that means for Elf. Depending on how close this game goes tonight, is going to determine how much I like the Elf. Now, I like his price, and to be honest, I'm going to like him either way because he's going to be matched up with Ulis for most of the game, I would imagine. And Ulis is a small guy. He's not big. I don't know if you guys saw the jump ball between him and Isaiah Thomas. Ulis is not a big dude. So I think that definitely a positive matchup for a guy like Elf. Of course, the only thing is Orlando doesn't really have anything to play for at this point. They're really just playing to show face and just play. And neither does Phoenix. But Phoenix is at least trying to see what their young guys got. Orlando pretty much knows what they have. They're just playing. So if Elf is going to get the minutes, I definitely like him at 7,800 against Ulis for sure. And yeah, I like it. Ricky Rubio, 7-7. I don't think he'll be too popular. He's got a match with Dragic, and Dragic is known as being one of the better defenders in the league. So I don't know how popular he's going to be, but he's been phenomenal. Even against Boston, he was 7,400. Somewhat chalk. He still got 40.25 DraftKings points. Now, it wasn't the 62 he put up against Washington, but Rubio's shown us he's capable of that kind of upside. So I definitely think Rubio is in play at 7,700. Dragic also in play 73. He came back from that eye injury, and he had an explosive game, 48.25 DraftKings points against New Orleans. Makes you think about Harden, right? But anyway, yeah, Dragic's certainly in play. Holiday at 67, I don't mind. He hasn't been getting the usage. When AD and Boogie are both playing, he doesn't typically get the usage. But once in a while, he'll surprise you and pop up with a good game. He had a decent game against Miami, but at 6,700, it would have been a little better. Rondo, I love Rondo. He's 6,500. He's been getting mega minutes, and with Dwayne Wade out, they're going to kind of need him in there to keep facilitating that offense. Since he was renamed the starter, we've seen him play 36 and 35 minutes. Not even in the best matchups either. And 39.75 DraftKings points, 42. Now, his price was 5 and 53 back then. Much more attractive, much more secure than the 65 price tag he's at now. But Washington's been giving it up to point guards. And honestly, even if Wall plays, I would still like Rondo. Just because if Wall has a tender foot here, I think Rondo can definitely take advantage of that. And the thing I like the most about playing Rondo is he's not scoring dependent, right? Like, he'll shoot 15 shot attempts, 16 shot attempts, but he's not really known for his scoring. He's more known for, one, as a point guard, he's a very good rebounder because he's aggressive and he's very smart on the court. And his assists, that's really what he is. So just because of the rebounds and assists alone, he is a threat for a triple-double, and which sets you up for a monster game. So knowing he's going to get this minutes, I would imagine his usage is going to raise with Wade out, him and Butler both. I love Rondo, even at 6,500. D'Angelo Russell, 65 against Milwaukee. He's coming off the bench. We'll see if he gets the start. It doesn't appear to be the case. I don't know if he's not happy about his new role or what, but he doesn't seem to be trying. I mean, he's been playing horrible. Not too interested in him. Jeremy Lin, I would have liked if Isaiah Thomas was playing, but Isaiah Thomas is not. So I think you have to be careful targeting against the point guard. I mean, Terry Rozier maybe will be the starter. I'm not sure. But either way, I don't feel like paying $6K on a large slate like this for Lin. A guy with limited upside because his minutes are limited. We got Clarkson, Lou Williams. Tyler Ulis is worth talking about, 5,700. He's going to get his first start against Sacramento. Oh, not his first start, I'm sorry. It's going to be his second start. His first start, he played 39 minutes against Sacramento, and he got 41.25 DraftKings points. So I definitely think he's certainly in play. Oh, it looks like Steph Curry returned. So anybody that plays Steph Curry, congratulations. Anyway, Tyler Ulis is 5,700. I'm not afraid of his matchup with the Elf, and it looks like they're going to let this kid go and just kind of see what he could do. He shot 33% from the floor, and I know this kid from college. That's not typically the way he shoots, but he got 13 assists. This guy can dish. So I definitely like Ulis, even at the increased price, 5,700. If he's going to get another 38, 39 minutes or whatever it may be, I'm all over him. And you know, they want to see what this kid has. So I think even in a blowout, not that I'm expecting one, but even if it was a blowout, I would expect they would just let him go. Got a lot of point guards on the board today. A couple guys worth mentioning. Brandon Jennings, if Wall is out, Brandon Jennings will be a lock for me. He's playing 15 to 16 minutes anyway with Wall, so I would imagine he would move into the starting lineup if Wall was out. So I love Brandon Jennings. He's only 4K. Terrific matchup against Rondo and the Bulls in general. When Jennings was on the Knicks and we saw Rose go out a couple times, Jennings did a phenomenal job stepping in. He took a lot of shots. He moved the ball, got some assists, got some rebounds. So I do like Jennings a lot if Wall is out. At 4K, he's got to be pretty much more or less a lock. And the other guy worth mentioning is Terry Rozier. I don't recall Isaiah Thomas missing any time, but I know Rozier is supposed to be the backup point guard, and he plays 14, 16, 8, 14, sometimes 20 minutes. He's the minimum. Phenomenal matchup against Brooklyn. Doesn't get any better than Brooklyn, and not in the NBA. And he's the minimum. So right off the bat, you have two extremely cheap value guards. The problem is they're both at the point guard position. If you want to play both of them in your cash games to free up some salary to maybe afford a guy like Harden, then you're gonna have to use one at the utility. Now, one option is you can obviously, if Harden's gonna be your guy anyway, you could just play Harden at the shooting guard, and then it's fine. You can go ahead and punt both the other guard positions and play those cheapies. But I mean, I guess we'll see. We know Rozier is going to be a play because we know Isaiah Thomas is out. Assuming Rozier is going to start, for all we know, they can move Bradley to point guard and have Jaylen Brown start at the 2. So we'll see what happens. But if we get word that he's starting, Terry Rozier has got to be at least considered. I mean, to me, it's a plug and play. If he's going to get 30 minutes at 3K at running a point guard position, even if he gets you 15, that's all you need. So I think that's very doable for a point guard in 30 minutes, assuming he gets 30 minutes. But again, it's going to all depend on if he starts or not. That's the bottom line. But yeah, Terry Rozier. And like I said, we have to find out about Wall. If we get the Wall news late, that's going to be better to play Jennings then. You can get him on some lower ownership because nobody's going to load up on Jennings unless they know for sure Wall is out. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow at shoot around. Anyway, moving on to shooting guard. Make sure I talked about. Oh, another guy I forgot. Michael Carter-Williams at 3.8K versus Washington. He's an option. I don't really love him, but with Wade out, they're going to need somebody else who could shoot at the 2. Michael Carter-Williams is a guy that will take shots. So we got to see who's going to start in his place to know for sure. Usually it's McDermott. They could go with Mirotic. We've seen him get some run in the past, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, so moving on to shooting guard. We talked about Harden. Jimmy Butler is small forward and shooting guard eligible. Is 8'8". We know he's going to get a massive usage bump without Wade, although we have seen a couple games with him without Wade where he hasn't done all that well. But at this price point, I think you could definitely take a chance. He struggled against Memphis, but Memphis is a pretty good defensive team overall, even though lately they haven't been. We know overall they typically are, and it's a slower paced game. He shot 25% from the floor. The last time he shot bad, he shot 2 of 11 against Boston. The next game he bounced back, shooting 53%. So I would imagine Butler to bounce back. He still took 15 and 16 shot attempts in his last 2 games. He's 8'8". He's priced down. I'm not scared of the pace. I'm not scared of the defense. I definitely like Butler here at 8'8". Bradley Beal at 8'2". If Wall is out, I think Beal becomes even more interesting. I would imagine he's going to pick up some of the usage. Now, his price has skyrocketed. He's up to 8'2". That's a little too much to pay for a guy like Beal for me, even in a good matchup. Maybe in tournaments, I get it, because maybe a lot of people will be thinking that. But in cash games, there's no way I'm paying 8'2" for Beal. I'd rather just pay for Butler in that case. DeMar DeRozan's only 8K, and with his usage, that seems like a phenomenal deal. The problem is, 1, it's the back end of a back-to-back. 2, he has looked horrible lately. Against Atlanta, he had a good game. But even in that game, he took 30 shots. It took him 30 shots to get 50 DraftKings points. He shot 12 for 30 and 1 for 8 from the 3. He just seems tired. Lowry's been out for a while now, and DeRozan just seems worn. He really does. He just seems worn out. So he's 8K. I understand taking a shot in a tournament just because he's so cheap, and he is still a star. He still has upside. It's just a matter of, do you really think after all this time on the back end of a back-to-back, he's just going to wake up and start scoring? Especially with KCP defense, I don't think so, but I guess it's possible. Devin Booker at 7'2", he kind of dudded everybody against Sacramento. He played 40 minutes, shot 6 for 26. I'd go right back to the well with him. He's a shooter. He's a scorer. I don't think he's not typically a guy that makes a habit of these bad shooting games. Now, of course, anybody can go on a slump. It looks like he was on a slump earlier this year. Looking like at the end of February into early March, so you can take a chances. I think it's okay. He's 7,200. He's not cheap, but we know that his usage is going to go up. He shot 26 shots against Sacramento. Only made 6 of them, but he did shoot 26. If he even shot 50% from the floor, you're looking at a monster game. So I have to say, especially against Orlando, I think Fournier has been kind of playing the 3 a little bit anyway. So if he gets a matchup with Ross, even if he gets a matchup with Fournier, to be honest, a guy like Booker, he's there to score. He don't play defense, but he's there to score. So he's definitely in play. I don't know about cash because of his price tag. You got Deion Waiters, decent spot. We know Waiters is going to chuck. Avery Bradley should be very interesting. I haven't ran the numbers to see who gets the big usage bump without IT2, but I would imagine that Bradley's going to get some of that. And his price is only 6K. It did come up a little bit, but he's still there. If he gets 30, he's not killing it. He's doing his job at 5X. So I definitely think he's worth consideration. If Wes Matthews is out, I think Seth Curry's in a great spot. Philly shooting guards have been torching Philly, and I know Curry he kind of went cold after that hot run. But we know he's a streaky guy, so all it takes is one good game, and he could be right back in it. So If Wesley Matthews is out, Curry's going to remain with these high minutes. And to be honest, even with Wesley in, he's still been playing monster minutes because I think Wesley's been playing the 3. The thing is, that was with Noel out. Now that Noel is back and they're playing the Sixers, if Noel starts, then that means and Wesley Matthews is back, there's going to be decisions made, and they're going to have to share time at the 2, because Barnes will then be at the 3 and Dirk will play the 4. So it's all hypothetical. But Curry, just pay attention to the situation, because I think he definitely could be an interesting play at shooting guard at 5,900. Let's see, Fournier 50. I'm not playing Lou Williams. Coming off a monster game. He had some. I preached about him before the slate. About him playing his old team, and in garbage time he's going to get the run. He did his thing. Made me look good, of course. Put up 53.5. I had a good night thanks to him. But I'm off that train. I think people are going to think that. Remember, he had some extra added narrative there. I don't think you can't really rely on that every time. KCP at 5,300. Evan Fournier at 5,800. Both these guys are in play. I like Fournier because even though his usage hasn't been the greatest, I typically prefer to play Fournier when somebody's out. But at 5'8", he's got a great matchup against Booker. They're going to need him for his defense anyway, so I think he's worth a shot. KCP, shooting guards have been tearing up Toronto. DeRozan's been tired. He hasn't really been playing any defense. Not that he's a good defender to begin with. So, yeah, I like KCP at 5,300 for GPP just because it's cheap and we know what his upside could be. Let's see if there's any other cheap guys worth talking about. I think that's about it on shooting guard. There wasn't too much I liked. Shabazz Muhammad could see more run now that he's played 31 minutes in the Boston game once what's his name went out. And 3,700 against Miami. If he's going to get another 30 minutes, he's a great punt option at 3,700, I can tell you that. So just keep that in mind. But I think we have enough solid value for the point guards that we don't necessarily have to play a guy like him. But in tournaments, if you want to pivot to somebody else that's cheap, or you're trying to afford some mega studs and you need a third guy, he's certainly someone to consider. Karis LeVert, all those guys, you can consider them. They're on the back end of a back-to-back. Even Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, I wouldn't get comfortable with that. I wouldn't trust that too consistently, if you know what I mean. Let's see. Moving on to small forward. We talked about Giannis, talked about Butler. Covington's okay. I feel like we're going to have 2 defenders pitting off against each other, assuming that Barnes plays the 3. So he's okay, 6,900. We know he's going to get the minutes, but we know it's not necessarily always so secure. So Wiggins at 6,700. I know I keep talking about Wiggins. The guy keeps making me look bad. In his last game, he did okay. He was 6,900. He hit 32.5. So we didn't quite hit value, but almost. Almost doesn't count, but he plays mega minutes. He took 23 shots in that game. He's playing Miami. I would imagine that we could be in store for something else like that. He's 6,700. His price keeps dropping, and a guy that's taking 23 shots at 6,700 to me is a good bargain. So I'm going to assume he's going to keep chucking, and I'm going to keep playing him at 6,700. I'll play him in cash too, especially at 6,700, because even if he gets you 35, you're happy. So yeah. T.J. Warren coming off a good game, 66, certainly in play. Coming off a monster game. I like Chris Middleton a lot. He's 6,500 against the Lakers. I think it's a great matchup for him. I wouldn't necessarily play him and Giannis together. I'd end up picking one. And Middleton is obviously cheaper, so I would assume he'd be more popular, or at least the easier guy to play. Brandon Ingram, 5K. He's been playing a little better. Trevor Ariza at 5'2 is interesting against New Orleans. They typically struggle against small forwards all season, and Ariza's been playing a lot better lately. Terrence Ross at 4,800, certainly worth considering. I think he's actually been playing the 2, so he might get pitted up against Booker, which would be a much better matchup for him. But at 4,800, certainly a viable option if you're looking to punt that position. Moving on to power forward. We got Cat at 10-4. Cat's in a great spot against Whiteside. Neither of those guys play good defense. So if you wanted a correlation play and just play the 2 of them together, if you can afford it, I don't blame you. Anthony Davis at 10-2. Anthony and Boogie. Boogie's 9-8. They're both in great pace-up spots, and I think Nene is out, so they should be able to feast down low. The issue is Boogie has not been playing well, and he's been getting in foul trouble, and his minutes haven't even been there. In his last 3 contests, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. So even though he's more tempting to play at the cheaper price, you got to be careful with him because he's been disappointing lately. Anthony Davis has been crushing it, but his price is up, and he's very injury prone. So I don't think either of these guys are exactly safe. Obviously, Boogie is much more attractive with his price tag, considering we know what his usage should be. But his usage in a small sample size, I'll admit, hasn't been what we've been hoping for. So with caution, look into it, make a decision. I can understand wanting one of these guys against Houston in a pace-up spot at home. But do your research and make sure you pick the one you feel comfortable with. Sarge at 7,900. Love Sarge against Dallas. If he's matched up against Dirk or Barnes, he's a guy with extremely high usage. He plays mega minutes, and he's gonna want to play well. They're playing against his one of their old buddies, Noel, who we'll talk about later. But I love Sarge even at 7,900. Randall had a monster game against Houston. I feel like this could be a trappy spot here. His minutes have still been inconsistent. 29 minutes against Houston, 24 against Denver. So it's a little concerning that they did get blown out pretty badly in both those games. If you think this game is going to be closer and maybe Randall gets some run, I'm all for it. But it seems like they're kind of trying to lose these on purpose. So that's a little scary. I think Markieff Morris is interesting. The Bulls have struggled against power forwards, and Markieff has been playing monster minutes. If Wall is out, he'll be even more interesting because I would imagine there'll be more shots to go around. So Markieff at 61 certainly in play. Aaron Gordon at 57 certainly in play. Ryan Anderson is 4,500, and I don't know if I could recommend him fully just because I don't really see him, keeping up with Boogie and Davis when they're in there together. But I just had to mention him because he's so cheap. I think that's pretty much it for power forward, at least from my initial look. Move on as a center. We talked about Cat Davis Cousins. Whiteside at 8,100. Like I said, I do like Whiteside against Cat. I like Vooch against Phoenix, but it is the back end of a back-to-back, and I don't like playing bigs on the back end of a back-to-back. Drummond at 71 is certainly in play. Brook Lopez at 68. If he plays, I have a feeling they'll rest him. They typically rest him. A guy I do like, Alan Williams, I do like. He's 6,300. He's got a matchup with Orlando, who obviously, as we know, is really bad. And he's had 2 straight games above 30 DraftKings points. Matter of fact, 3 out of his last 4 above 30 DraftKings points. I played 31 minutes against Sacramento, so if he's going to get at least 25 minutes, I like his chances against the bad defense of Vooch. So I really like him. He's probably my favorite GPP center. And maybe cash games. We don't know yet. Maybe. Al Horford, 6,100, certainly in play. He finally got off the schneid in his last game. Finally had a decent game, 47.25 DraftKings points. Of course, I pivoted off of him. It ended up not mattering, but in cash, I pivoted off of him to somebody else. I ended up cashing all my cash games anyway, but still, it always stinks when you make a pivot and your score could have even been higher had you stuck with that guy. Greg Monroe against the Lakers, great spot for Greg Monroe. Again, the question is the minutes, 27, 26, 33. It's up and down. But I think even if he gets 25 in this matchup, I think he could be okay. The problem is he's 5,900. So you need him to pretty much hit 30, and he hasn't hit 30 in 3 straight contests. The matchup is a lot better. He's had tough matchups before that. Memphis, DeAndre Jordan. This matchup should be a lot easier for him against the Lakers. So definitely in play at 5,900, but probably more so for tournaments. Nerlens Noel, probably my favorite center of the day. I love the narrative thing. Now, his minutes haven't quite been there, but we saw against the Lakers what he can do in limited minutes. And now he's getting Okafor. And I think Noel probably is one guy who truly knows how bad Okafor's defense is. He knows the team. He knows where their weaknesses are. He knows why he was there. And I know he wanted to be traded, so I know he has no hard feelings against Philly. But still, you go back to your home city, you're playing in front of your old fans. You're going to want to play well. You're going to want to let them know that you're good and that when they cheered for you, it was right because you're a talented player. So I definitely love Noel. Probably my favorite center on the board. Even in limited minutes at 5,500, I would play him in cash just because of the narrative. I really would. Clint Capella is also an interesting cash game play. He's 5,500. They're going to need him to play minutes. He doesn't typically get them, but Nene is out. So I think we could see an instance where he plays maybe at least 30. And they're going to need him in the game with Boogie and AD in there at all times. I think him and Montrezl Harrell, who I didn't even talk about before, are going to be the beneficiaries. But obviously, Harrell's 3K, so he's worth considering. He doesn't get a lot of minutes, but I'm thinking that with Nene out, he should see maybe in the 20s if they don't want to pay Capella. If they don't want to play Capella like a 35, that would leave some leftover minutes for Harrell. He's 3Ks as a minimum. So, like I said, we got some interesting value. I don't know if necessarily I consider him a lock. I'd much rather in cash games prefer to just pay up for Capella, obviously. I love Capella. But again, Harrell for value is worth considering because he's so cheap. Even if he gets 15, 20 minutes, he's only 3K. Zubac 5,400 crushed everybody. I don't understand why they started him and only played him 11 minutes. Did he get hurt? Did he get in foul trouble? Oh, 4 fouls. Wow. He got eaten up. Looks like he got 4. He only played 11 minutes. He got 4 fouls somehow in 11 minutes. That is just crazy. And we are saying, wow, that's bad. So that could have been a fluke. I don't know. He's got Milwaukee. I don't think Monroe is going to give him the same problem. So I think in tournaments you can go back to a guy like Zubac, especially if you're playing some Milwaukee guys and you're looking for a Laker with correlation. They want to play Zubac. I would assume the only reason he only played 11 minutes was because of his foul trouble. So, um, you got to consider him at least. I think I still love Noel. Okafor's going to get rocked by this guy, so I like Noel. And you know what? If we find out Noel does not start, you can even look at Dirk for sure at 6,400 because any center against Okafor is gonna crush. That's at least how I feel. Other guys you can consider, Valanciunas is 5K. It's back end of a back-to-back. Don't like playing big men, but I figure they're going to need him on the court. He's been playing well, and they're going to need him on the court against Drummond. So, it's just an option. I think that's pretty much it as far as I mean, you got other plays like Joffrey, all these other guys you want to take a shot with them. But for now, that's pretty much it. So we know about the value. Possibly Brandon Jennings. Pay attention to the Wall news. If Wall does play, Wall's in a great spot. I like Rondo. And I think Terry Rozier, all we're waiting for is confirmed. We know Isaiah Thomas is out for at least 2 games. All we're waiting for now is to find out if Rozier's starting. And if we get word that Rozier is going to be the starter and is going to be the point guard for the game, I think you could fire away and lock him in at your guard position and go from there. And we'll see. I'm excited to hear if Wall plays or not, because if Wall is out, I'd love to have Jennings and Rozier right off the bat as 2 value guys and just kind of build from there and see where it goes. Anyway, guys, that's it. We'll see you guys next week. This was the last show of the week, obviously, only Monday through Friday. So if you're not a member of WiseTake.com, please sign up. It's a free membership. We have a forums on there. We're trying to get it going. We have some free tools for you guys just to give you a free base of where to start for some of you people that are maybe new to DFS and don't have any projections or anything you could use. So we got stuff on there that's very raw that you can use for free, and you just have to be a member. And we're trying to start a community. We're going to get a chat going. We're going to get message boards going, the forums and all that. So be a nice little DFS community. We could all help each other win some money. Anyway, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button. I really, really appreciate it. Please subscribe. Our channel is growing. We're over 100 subscribers, and it's I couldn't be more proud and more appreciative to you guys who watch and support the podcast. It's much appreciated. And so good luck. It's an awesome slate. It should be a great tournament slate and even a pretty good cash game slate if the value holds up. So it'll be a lot of fun. Have a great weekend. Of course, we'll catch you guys here on Monday. And as always, good luck. Yeah.